Are you looking to break into Amazon ads to promote your books on KDP? Would you like to know the practical steps for how to run an Amazon advertising campaign for the first time? Then get deeper insights into Amazon ads for KDP when guest expert Rick Wong of Seller Metrics breaks down how to set up a sponsored product ad for your book. With his extensive background in running successful ads for Amazon FBA, he now applies his trade for authors. Find out what strategy every beginner should use when breaking onto the Amazon advertising platform and how simple it is to fire off an effective campaign that doesn't break the bank. For a deeper look into Rick Wong, make sure you check out the full interview posted on my podcast channel. The link is in the description, and you can also find the details about Seller Metrics, Rick's Amazon ads management services, and his YouTube channel. Let's get into this full step-by-step tutorial of Amazon ads for KDP.
Everyone's familiar with the good old Amazon ad console dashboard, and I have like one of my clients screen right here. And yeah, so to create a new campaign, what you're going to do is basically click on this button here, and you're going to choose sponsor products. So you get three options: sponsor products, sponsor brand, and lock screen ads. So I would 100% stay away from lock screen ads. I never had any success with it. I don't know any of my clients or anybody had any good ROI return coming from it. Yeah. I think when I first tested this, I think my ACoS was well over 400%. So never touched it ever again. For the sponsor brand, it's probably maybe for more advanced authors that have a solid catalog of books around a particular niche. I found that it works really well if you have maybe a set of books around, say, parenting, for example, right? So maybe parenting for different age kids, or maybe parenting for kids with different developmental problems, right? So maybe you could use that to kind of showcase the catalog of your books. I've seen it work well in those cases. The one that we're going to choose is sponsored products. And sponsored products, you're basically, it's the most popular ad set within the Amazon advertising ecosystem, has the most ad inventory, and this allows you to kind of target the keyword search and also what we call product targeting, which basically you could place your ad in a competitor, a competition's product listing page, and we'll go over that in a bit. So we're going to click on continue. So the first option here, right, is that custom ad or standard ad. Right, so if you actually have a good copy, really something that you really want to convey to the viewers, such as what this book is about, or basically a brief maybe sentence about a synopsis of the book, then you could actually just click on this, and later you could actually write one sentence about the book. And then the next part is products. So products, this is basically what you are looking to advertise for. Let's select a book, right? So in my experience, you really should just advertise for your paperback only if you have an option between ebook, right, or paperback. Because a lot of times for paperback, in my experience, right, there is a lot better ROI and lower ACoS if you actually advertise for paperback, mainly because the average order value of the paperback is much higher than the ebook, right, in most cases. Sometimes you can see some authors price their ebook around the same as their paperback, and it worked for them. But whatever ebook or paperback, whichever has a higher priced version, use that as the advertising product in your sponsored product campaign. So this, for example, would be the ISBN, that's the ASIN, that would be a paperback book.
Okay, so you know that just because it has the 10 digits rather than the BOO or the B00, B01 type thing.
Yeah, correct. So you see the one that has the Amazon ASIN, so with B0, that is the ebook. And Perfect. You see an actual paperback or a hardcover, they use the ISBN as their identifier.
Now for a campaign on sponsored products, would you ever put in multiple products underneath a sponsored product campaign, or would you separate them out in ad groups? How does that look for you?
A proper structure should be a campaign per title. Okay. Right? Basically, you want to have a set of keywords that is related to a product. Okay. Right? That's where you want to separate out the campaign. Although, there are specific strategies out there that you could actually advertise for all your books, and maybe use an auto campaign to kind of reap some of the cheaper sales. But if your main money campaign should be by specific titles.
Okay, fantastic. So I definitely always want to separate them out then.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually the number one issue I see with a lot of authors. They like to like bunch a lot of books and keywords together, and that would just confuse the Amazon algorithm, right? As in like what keyword to what product to kind of give your impressions for. But if you make it easy for Amazon algorithm to say, okay, this set of keywords goes for this particular catalog of books, right? Then you just make it easier on Amazon to show relevant traffic to your title. The next setting is the targeting. So there is the auto targeting and also manual targeting. So the auto targeting basically is just like it allows Amazon to basically find the proper impressions, right, for your title. So I actually created like a slide for that, kind of gives you an idea of the difference. So for the auto, right, basically in any like keywords or any like product targeting is chosen by Amazon, right? Basically Amazon will, using their algorithm or AI, will basically find like a good match of traffic towards your title. So that's why it's very important to have your actual book listing well optimized with really relevant keywords. So if you use an auto campaign, basically Amazon will choose the data from your book, right, from your book listing for proper relevant traffic. And don't be afraid to use auto campaign. I think these could be really effective if you don't know what specific keyword to choose for your product. But the caveat to that is that make sure that when you do create an automatic campaign, you only advertise for one particular title of book, as not to confuse the Amazon algorithm. And then there is like the manual targeting. Basically for this, this option right here, basically you provide Amazon, you actually provide the keywords and also product targeting to Amazon. And within the manual targeting, there's two options. So basically there's a keyword targeting. This is, what keywords customers search for, and you show up as the results on the product display page. And then there is like the product targeting, and that would just show up on like a particular product page. So basically within the actual product listing. So for sponsored brands, it would appear right down here.
Okay. Now, of those two strategies, manual targeting, which of those two strategies do you think is most useful or easiest to break into?
It really depends, right? I hate saying that, but yeah, it does depend. So I found like nonfiction books really do well with keywords. And for fiction books, using product targeting more might give you a better ROI. Why I say this? Because for nonfiction books, a lot of times you could actually match a customer search term to the actual book itself, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes for like a nonfiction book, like sometimes like the actual end reader probably don't know like what they want to search for that book that they want to read. A lot of like fiction reader, they'll just maybe advertise for a certain category, and those could get like very expensive. But if you actually use the product targeting, let's just say you are writing a suspense book, kind of very similar to like maybe like Stephen King type of books. Maybe you could use product targeting on books around that genre, and that would probably give you like a better ROI because you're being as direct as possible without a specific keyword search.
Is it against terms of service for us to target other authors' books or products?
No, it's not. It's not. It is not against the terms of service to target specific authors, books or product. No, it's not. So the keyword targeting. So again, once you go to like keyword targeting, there's like three options I could select: broad, phrase, and exact. So exact, obviously, you just bid exactly what that keyword phrase is. Basically, phrase, right, is basically any part of this particular keyword phrase within the customer search term gets an impression.
So something like, say, coffee table books for men would probably be a phrase then, right?
Yeah, correct. So that would be eligible for the phrase match for coffee table books because
Got you.
this particular phrase is within that search phrase that you just mentioned.
Now, what about the broad match then?
The broad match is more basically like match, where if anything resembles whatever Amazon deemed the search to be very similar to coffee table books, you would get an impression for. So for example, books on the coffee table, right? This, if you actually bid on this particular keyword on broad, you might get an impression for that because there is some relevancy between those two search phrases.
Okay, that makes sense.
And because that's a lot of times, if it's like a broad, right, it allows the Amazon leeway in terms of sending your impressions. The actual like cost per click on that would be a lot lower than say exact, but the conversion rate might be lower. So it's basically you have to adjust, between the conversion rate and the amount of traffic and also the cost per click of certain broad phrase and also exact match types. And in terms of the pros and cons between automatic and manual campaigns, here are some of the pros and cons. So automatic campaigns is great for if you want to do research, as I mentioned, if you don't know what your particular keyword and also competition is, it's a great way to kind of research for that. Okay. And a lot of times it's lower cost per click, less work because you're actually letting the Amazon algorithm take over. Okay. And cons, the traffic might be poor. It might not generate as much sales as manual campaigns as well. And then for the manual campaign, I think one thing great about it is that it allows you for good amount of control. You're actually telling Amazon what to bid for. So you have a very good idea of your the audience for your title. So you could just tell Amazon that only bid for this particular keyword or for this particular type of audience only, right? So basically you're giving Amazon a particular map to your audience. And I would also suggest that don't be afraid to use them together. They could be very complementary for each other, right? I do see a lot of sellers, they would use an auto and then switch that off and use a manual. But I think in my experience, the best results come from using both of them together. Mm-hmm. And I kind of liken it to the auto campaign as more of your hunter because it allows the algorithm to go out, find additional keywords. And basically your manual campaign is more of your farmer because you know what your good keywords are. You're constantly trying to farm for these sales.
Makes so much sense. There was so many times where I've always kind of seen there was a correlation between the two of those, but I never referred to him as the hunter-farmer.
Yeah, for example, if there's a great new title released, auto campaign might be able to find a new title that you could potentially advertise for. So that's a great thing about auto. It could go out and find any potential relevant traffic for you, and then allows you to kind of scale out your campaign that way.
Nice, very smart. It's a great way to hack the system.
And when you add targets, right? So I do notice that in the Amazon KDP author space that they like to add maybe 1,000 target types, right? Because that's the max that you're allowed. But I'm kind of in the school of thought where you want quality over quantity. For me, I like to put around 30 to 50 keywords within ad group / campaign. And I also like to add longer tail keywords, as in anything that has 3 words or more, right? Because longer tail keywords normally, the cost per click is a bit lower and your conversion rate would be higher. But the downside is that it's more time consuming because you actually have to look into the list of keywords that you research and subjectively pick out which ones that you want to target for, right? Mm-hmm. And basically, as an Amazon PPC agency, that's actually a lot of the work that I do, making sure that my clients are targeting for the right keyword and also the product targets. And in terms of tools, right, for product research, since I come from the product selling space, I use a product called Helium 10. I think maybe it's some of your audience may have actually heard of them as well.
Yeah.
Right? They're They're very well known in the Amazon space, software space. What I love about it is that once you do the keyword research on for a particular product, for example, a competition, you can actually see what keyword that competition is actually advertised for, right? So if I actually give an example here, so let's just say I'm actually selling like a very similar book, and I want to like start my advertising campaign, right? I could just go into Helium 10. And there's like a tool called Cerebro. Basically, it does something called reverse ASIN on like an actual product. So that would be either ISBN or ASIN.
Yeah.
And then it kind of spits out like related keywords that had converted for this particular title or even like a product. Right, so I can load from history. I already did this like analysis. So you can see for this, for your competition, this guy right here, these are the relevant keyword for this product. So basically these are the keywords that had converted in the past for this book, right? And you could see which keywords that this author has actually been advertising for. So obviously the ones that they're advertising for is actually doing well for them, or else they wouldn't be advertising. So what you could do, right, is pick out the keywords here, right, that has an A in it, right? Basically, you're kind of piggybacking on a lot of their work already.
Yeah, they've done the research for you, so you're just applying it.
Yeah, exactly. So here, basically, I would like use this as my first maybe like 50 keywords that I want to target, before like I want to like scale up my keywords that by adding more keywords. And also a lot of times, reason why you don't want to add like 1,000 like keywords or targets within the campaign is that you probably don't have enough budget to kind of test all of them anyways. If you actually look into any campaigns that you add like 1,000 targets, you could only see like maybe like 50 of them might have an impression. Rest of like the 950 probably have like 0 across the board. So really,
do you think that affects the relevance for an ad to be served if I have too many targets that aren't converting any impressions or clicks?
Yeah, I think so, because even like the ones that are doing well, since you have to like spread it out across like so many like targets, it's just like spreads out your campaign budget a little too thin.
Got you.
To be able to effectively place the proper impression on of your more relevant keywords. Okay, so let's just say like I want to like go after like these keywords right here, right? And I did my proper research. These are the targets that I want to go for.
So you wouldn't normally just go and just blindly click on these things, just so people know.
I would, yeah. So guys, like, yeah. So I think a lot of times the most time-consuming thing is that you make sure that the targets that you enter in this box right here is properly vetted by you, right? Okay. Basically, 50% of your performance is basically attributed to like what you're actually targeting. Okay. So I feel like if you're going to spend any time on Amazon advertising, would be figuring out what you want to actually enter in this box right here.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, just for my example, I'm just like adding things in. But obviously, if you create a new campaign, you want to vet what you want to put and make sure that the targets that you add into this box right here is highly, highly relevant to like the title that you're trying to offer.
So if I am a little bit more cash strapped, let's just say, for instance, I can't afford Helium 10, and maybe I just don't have discretionary expenses to work with seller metrics. How do I source my keywords? Is it one of those cases that I look at my back end for my book? Do I go look online? Is there somewhere I can find these keywords that hopefully could convert?
Yeah, so I think one way is that you can actually use the suggested tab right here from Amazon advertising.
Okay.
And a lot of times they actually give like some pretty good suggestions. And then I guess it's up to you to subjectively look into it and decide which one to add. I think the actual suggested column here is like pretty decent, right? There's some obviously ones that are, for example, this one, me, you probably don't want to add those, right?
Right.
It's
or
very,
book,
very
books.
broad, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
yeah.
Obviously you want to vet this out. So I think like if you don't want to use any tools, I think the suggested tab on this particular console works pretty well.
And I think you'd mentioned previously too, if we want to find some targets that convert, auto targeting is probably the best campaigns to run. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, correct. So if you actually have no idea what your target audience is for, you know, you could actually use like an auto campaign to do some of your discovery work to kind of see what keywords, what particular ASINs or ISBN would convert for your title.
Perfect. All right. Sorry to derail you. I always just like to hit on some of these things, the what if scenarios, because I know instantly someone's going to say, what if? Because I don't have the discretionary expense. So what do I need to do next? So this is great.
So yeah, you don't like still Helium 10 could be a little costly. So if you want to use reverse ASIN too, I know like there's like this free one called Sonar. So this one you could actually do a reverse ASIN search, and then you just enter the ASIN as you do here.
Okay.
And it'll pop up keywords, although it's not as detailed as you can see here in Helium 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's different tools out there. So if you actually do something called like a reverse ASIN, like a search for reverse ASIN tool, there's like free tools out there.
Okay, so there's tons of ways we can do it, between the auto targeting to some of these free tools and such like that, and eventually upgrade to things like Helium when we can afford that expense. Okay, so you were getting your targets. I didn't want to derail you completely off track here.
So we adding a target. So again, let's just say my book right here is Amusing Musings. So I think it's like a joke book. So let's just go for like these like keywords that is related. So
Okay.
I don't think it's a coffee table book. Dad jokes, yeah, I think it's like partly relevant. Joke book for kids, I think this one's pretty good. It's 3 words in it, and it's like very relevant to like what I'm offering.
Okay, now with the bids though, do we stick with the suggested bids, or do I change that at all? And what recommendations would you have for that?
I feel like if the bids for the suggested is not too high, you could go for the suggested.
Okay.
But if like the bids is like a bit okay, so if you're an KDP author, in my experience, your cost per click should be around like 30 cents or so, right?
Okay.
So any clicks that is like a lot higher than that, I would make sure that you could get it back down to around at most like 40 cents. I think what a lot of KDP authors get in trouble is when their cost per click gets too high, because their average order value for the product is relatively low, right? So if you actually want to achieve a decent ACOS, you would need to make sure that your cost per click maintains at around the 30-cent level.
Makes sense. So you want to be very realistic. I don't want to be putting a $2 cost per click down, right?
Yeah. For example, if like dead jokes like very relevant, if Amazon's saying like suggesting you like $1 a click, maybe you don't really want to like target that and just want to bump that down to like say like 40 cents or something like that.
So that way you're not having to spend an exorbitant amount if you actually win some portion of that auction.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could actually win like a lot of keywords, but it's just the level of the cost of that cost per click that you're willing to win it at. And for, I would say, a KDP author, unless the keyword is like your hero keyword that is like contributing to say like 50% of your sales, I would make sure to, for any keyword, to set it at around like your target to be like around 30 cents cost per click.
At what point do I determine if I need to increase or decrease the bid? So let's say, for instance, I'm not getting any impressions. Should I increase the bid? And if I do increase it, how much should I increase it by?
I think for that, if you're not getting impression, if you've deemed that keyword to be highly relevant, so first of all, you need to judge whether the keyword is relevant to your actual title, right? If not, then it's okay, right? Because a lot of times, like Amazon is actually pretty smart. Even though you bid on a keyword, right, and it's not relevant to what you're advertising, you're not going to get any impression for it no matter how much you bid, right? So that's fine. But if it's like relevant, then what you can do on like a regular basis is actually go to your campaign within the ad console, right? You could go to the targeting tab right here.
Okay.
Filter for a particular date range that you want to look at. So when you're actually looking at like your data in your ad console, you definitely want to filter for anything more than 30 days because of statistical significance, right? Basically, you want to have as much data to analyze to make a decision. So I think 30 days would be, good enough like date range for you to kind of get like enough data to kind of make that decision. And what you could do is like you filter for anything that is, for example, impression equals or less than, so less than say 100, right? What you could do, so you can see like these particular results here. So you can make a decision here, right? Whether, these particular targets you want to like upbid, right? If you want to upbid it, you could select each particular targets and do bulk actions, adjust bid, and you could increase it by a certain percentage. So for me, let's just say I want to increase it, say 15% for this week, and basically monitor the results next week to see if you actually get impressions based on your bid increase, right? If you're not getting any impression even with the 15% increase, then you can make a decision whether to increase that 15% again next week.
Okay. But is 15% a good starting point, or is there a percentage more or less that we need to shoot for?
I personally like to do around like 15%. I don't want to increase the bid too much. I like to increase it incrementally and see what's going on, because you really do not want to overbid. So for KDP authors, bid control is very important. As I mentioned, the cost, the actual price of their book is pretty low, and the amount that you could afford on a per click basis on advertising is also like really low, right? Because you don't want to get like over, say, like 100% ACoS, but in some cases maybe you do. I know some non-fiction authors, some fiction authors, right, trying to really sell their first series of book and try to like reap the revenues on the follow-up sales on the second and third, fourth series of books. In that case, maybe you're really willing to like overpay on like a certain keyword. But in most cases, you want to just be very conservative in terms of your upbidding. If your suggested bid is like around like 30 cents, even 40 cents is okay. But if it's over like like 50 cents, then you want to like manually bid that down.
Okay.
So you add that in there. The next section here is negative keyword targeting. This works well if you know exactly what you don't want your title to show up for. So let's just say, let me think of an example. Let's just say that you don't want your title to show up for anything Stephen King related. So what you could do is that you could put your negative phrase, right? Type Stephen King. So any like search phrases, right, that has like the phrase Stephen King in it, your advertising will not show up for.
Ah, brilliant. So then it keeps it away from that audience. So let's just say, for instance, I've got a clean joke book and I'm running this particular campaign. So maybe I want to remove dirty joke books.
Yeah.
And so anybody who looks up dirty joke books, they're not going to look up my wholesome, clean, and fun, family-friendly jokes.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically in that case, maybe you could like put as a negative phrase as dirty, right? So any like type of like search term that has like that particular phrase dirty in it, you could basically not show up for those particular search impressions. In the meantime, exact is exact, right? So if you actually know an exact phrase you don't want to show up for, then you just like enter that into like this box right here, selecting negative exact.
Negative keyword targeting I always find the most fun whenever I'm putting together my campaigns, and especially as it starts to build out. Something like this manual targeting, when you're running broad, it'll bring back some really stupid keyword like phrases, and you're like, why did I pay for that? And toss it into negative targeting.
Yeah, so very important, like the negative keyword targeting and also the negative product targeting. I think if there is just one optimization action that you want to do week over week, if you're really strapped on time, is to add keywords or product into negatives. I think those are like the lowest hanging fruit, right? I think like, if there's like a customer search, like a kind of like a reader search phrase that clicked on like a particular search 40 times without a purchase, I think you're pretty confident in like negating that particular search term. So if you are strapped on time, adding keywords into the negative here should be like, that could be like your only thing that you do. It's like basically the lowest hanging fruit.
So it's telling them what we don't want it served at. Now, so the next section, you've got the custom text. This one I find the most fascinating, and I a lot of times usually just go to standard ads. Is there a better conversion for custom text versus standard?
I haven't done that test, but a lot of my clients really want to use like custom text ads. So I've kind of, create these for them and ask them like what type of custom text that you want to put on your ad. And basically it gives a good way to kind of give like a very short 150 character type of synopsis of like what your book is about. So yeah, I think I've seen like some authors like leverage this in a pretty good way. If you have like a really good one-liner that could catch the attention, I think this is like the way to use it.
All right. Okay, my favorite part, campaign bidding strategy.
Yeah, my favorite. I was gonna say that. It's like my favorite part as well. So the campaign bidding strategy could be complicated, right? Yeah. So what the campaign bidding strategy here was saying that you're allowing Amazon to upbid dynamically, which is mean that they could take it over. Basically, upbid your bid up to like 100%, or downbid your bid down to 100%, right? When they deem a certain keyword is less likely to convert on a sale. Sounds like kind of complicated, but it's not really. It's basically you're allowing Amazon to, in the last minute, increase the bid or decrease the bid if they see that your product, your title to a particular search term is more or less likely to convert. And I kind of get like an illustration of how it actually works, right? So the three options, dynamic bid down only, dynamic bid up and down, and fixed. So fixed is obvious. So basically what you put into like your bid is what you're actually going to bid for, right? So in that case, your bid and your cost per click would be equivalent to each other. So the dynamic bid up and down, so let's just say your offer bid is $2. In this case, Amazon could actually increase your bid upwards to $4, right?
Man, that better be an expensive book.
Yeah, it better be 100% conversion, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Or it could bid all the way down to 0 when they deem it less likely to convert.
Okay.
But in my experience, it's very, very rare that I can bid it down up to like 100%. So it's up to, so it's a range, right? Okay. So I think most likely scenarios like maybe like around here, right? I haven't really seen it actually that it will bid up exactly to 100%. And for dynamic down only, it only allows it to bid down, right? If it's like less likely convert, then it'll just like bid down upwards to like 100%, which is like 0. And basically for this, the ceiling for what you can actually bid would be your offer bid of $2.
When in each of these instances, we're letting Amazon take the wheel. We're like, hey, if you think that this is going to convert at a higher cost that's in the dynamic up and down, go ahead and bid more. But if you believe this is less likely to convert, could you bid it just a little bit lower? And that's where bidding down, the dynamic bid down, works as well.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So basically, the up and down would be more of an aggressive strategy. The fix is medium strategy, right, in terms of bidding aggressiveness. And this is the least aggressive bid, the campaign bidding strategy. In terms of when you're actually creating a new campaign, what I would suggest a lot of times, if you really want to rank and try to get some impressions right away, you could put your dynamic bid up, down, right? But a lot of times I like to, at the very least, pick fixed bids, right?
Okay.
Because if you actually do down only, I do find that you will get really slow to get impression because Amazon hasn't got too much sales data on your book. The chances are they'll bump you down on the bidding auction.
So we want to take control and say, all right, let's do fixed bids. If at some point during my campaign running, can I switch it from fixed bid to any of the dynamic bids at all?
Yeah, correct. That's what I do a lot. I would change the campaign bidding strategy depending on like the life cycle of the campaign.
Okay.
For example, when I first launch it, I might use either the dynamic up down or the fixed bids only, right? To make sure that I get that impression to test my ad set. Once my campaign is like making sales for me and my goal is to kind of get the best ROI I could, right, from this campaign as possible, then I will switch it to dynamic bid down only. That is just to prevent you to maybe bid on basically overbidding on keywords that are less likely to convert. For now, campaign bidding adjustment. So this part right here, basically, it just allows you to kind of give that extra umph to whether you want to place your ad on top of the search or on the product pages, right? Okay. So let's just say you really want your ad to show up on the top of search. Basically, it's like the first like couple of ads within the search results, right?
It's the holy grail because you get that placement as soon as somebody hits search.
Yes, correct. But you should look at the data. A lot of times I see in the KDP space is that a lot of times the product page placement does better than top of search.
Interesting. Right? Huh. I wonder why that is.
I think it's as I mentioned, not all books have like a direct relationship between keywords and also the title, right?
Ah, that makes sense. Yeah. So someone might be looking for something, but it's really not what they're looking for.
Exactly.
The customers don't always know what they want.
Exactly. There's some products out there or books that like customer will buy it when they like browse Amazon. There's some products out there that, on the other hand, there are some product title out there that, for example, I need help with my English, right? There's like a direct relationship between the keyword search and like a book, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of times, let's just say, just like a particular genre, suspense novels, right? That direct relationship between the customer search to your book is not really that direct. So when that's the case, I see that product placement does better than like a top of the search. And the data to see the placement information is actually within your campaign. So go into your campaign, sponsor product campaign, go to placement. It'll tell you your performance by placement. And you can see in this particular campaign right here, the product pages does better sales-wise.
Wow.
Than your top of search.
Considerably better. And you're even bidding even more on that top of search in that particular instance.
So that just tells me that this particular title might do better for product targeting ads. And also maybe you want to bump up your product page placement, right? To say like 30% or 40% and see whether you actually get even more additional sales coming from product pages.
So we just divert some of that investment we're putting into top of search over into product pages instead.
Yes, correct. How do actual placement percentage and also the the dynamic up down work together? It actually tells you like right here, right? So when you actually set these settings together, you got to be like really, really careful, right? Because you could actually see here, you can actually bid like up to 900%, right, of your original bid, right? 900%. So what is saying that you could actually go up to say 900% here, right? And then you could also select bid up down. So like how much is that? Like 900% for, let's just say like it could get up to like $10, right? Yeah. For like 900%.
Wow.
Right. And then if you actually do dynamic up and down, not only that, it could like times that by 100%.
Kick it up even more. So then it's like a lethal dose then.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be like $20 bid. So you could actually go up to $20 if you set up down 900, right?
Woo!
Yeah, so it could be like pretty crazy. So
Rick, you're giving me really acid indigestion just thinking about it.
Yeah. So if I put like 900, which would be like kind of crazy, right? So like around $6.60.
I've never bid that much.
Times two. Times two. So up down 12, around $13.
Yeah, $13.20 I think is what that comes out to be. Oh my gosh! So yeah, you got to be careful about that.
Yeah, so be very careful about that. So for this. And campaign name, give it like a proper campaign name. So it would be like the title name, and then the ASIN or ISBN, right?
Okay.
And then campaign budget, I would say like $10, right?
Now, is that a good starting point for most people? Would you say $10, or can they go lower or higher?
I would say $10 is a good starting point.
Okay.
If you really want to go lower, I would say $5 should be your minimum. That would just allow it to give it enough daily budget to kind of give you like enough impressions to kind of make a decision within a reasonable time frame.
I'd love to keep chatting here with you, but I think this will be a great way to maybe bring you back, and maybe we can do a follow-up on how we monitor some of those, some of the data, because I know that you're very data driven. So I'd love to bring you back if you're ever eager for something like that.
Yeah, be happy to like come back on board, talk about Amazon advertising.
If you enjoyed this video, let me know inside the comments, because we can always expand on this one later on, so long as you enjoyed it. Also, check out Rick's YouTube channel, Seller Metrics, and his Amazon Ads Management Services when you visit the links in the description down below. And check out this sit-down interview with Rick on my podcast channel, where we talk about his interesting backstory of how he got into running Amazon ads for authors. I'll see you there.